Chapter 1124. Griffin laughed out loud, then said, "We'll go together then. Let's see just what this young man's capable of." Lowen smiled. Each of the four main forces has their own sanctuary-level cultivator to keep the peace, as well as 10,000 armed troops with all kinds of weapons. No one dares to do a thing to each other. I'm really interested to see why this guy dared to say such a thing. Send out orders to seal off Spiralville and surround the Leaker Corp headquarters, Griffin called out. His right-hand man scurried off to do as told at once. Just then, Demi's wound where she had lost an arm was finally stitched up completely, and she got to her feet. "I'm going too." Griffin gave her an approving look and the three of them headed out. That evening, all of Spiralville stayed indoors, with every window bolted shut. The only people seen on the streets were the armed militants, standing guard at every junction. There were bazookas set up a few streets down from the Leaker headquarters, more than capable of blowing the entire building up. On top of that, there were up to 100 snipers waiting on the rooftops of the highest buildings surrounding Leaker Corp's headquarters as well. Spiralville was prepared for a war. Just then, a car drove past the crowd of armed soldiers and stopped in front of the building. Griffin, Demi, and Lowen got out and looked at the entrance of the building. Right on cue, Wilbur walked out of the door, staring at them coldly. At the same time, Sophie was hiding in the main lobby, peering outside anxiously. She had seen everything happening outside from the windows in Demi's office just now. There were countless militants, bazookas, and snipers in position. It could be said that the Leaker Corp's headquarters had been fully surrounded by heavily armed forces. If these people were to open fire, the building would be completely demolished in no time. Sophie would have no chance to survive such a disaster. She did not think anyone would be able to get out of an attack like this alive, including Wilbur. Human beings were still made of flesh and blood at the end of the day, and it was already a miracle if they could even withstand a bullet. Taking on the attack of a whole army of bazookas, however, was definitely impossible. The thought made Sophie grow destitute and regretful. It was her own recklessness and ignorance that had landed Wilbur in this situation. Sophie regretted her actions deeply. But all of that was pointless now. All she could do was pray on Wilbur's behalf in silence, hoping that he would figure out a way out of this. Sophie was fine with dying here. Maybe that might compensate for all the mistakes she had made. Right after Wilbur walked out, Griffin and Lowen sized him up. Wilbur looked back at them, devoid of emotion. Griffin sneered coldly. "How dare you hurt my daughter? You must have a death wish." "I think I went pretty easy on her, considering all the terrible things you've been doing," said Wilbur. Griffin's expression darkened. "Shut your mouth. One order from me and you'll be blown to smithereens." "Go ahead then. I'll just take that as you refusing to agree to my suggestion, and you'll have to bear the consequences yourself." Wilbur put his hands behind his back. Griffin slowly raised his right hand. Sophie's heart lurched at the gesture. She knew that if Griffin's hand were to be lowered, all the armed forces would open fire and they would be dead for sure. Sophie was certain that this was their only fate. Agony and regret overwhelmed her all at once.